Good Yontif and Gamar Chatima Tova. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with a book that I read probably a good 10, 15 years ago. Very popular self-help book called 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey. This book was basically marketed towards the business world, but it had many different applications that went beyond just the business world and really was something that talked about how we could improve our own lives on a personal level as well. It became a bestseller and a book that influenced many people, including myself. One of the things that was noteworthy in Stephen Covey's book, this was not one of the 7 habits of the highly effective people, but was something that he spoke about with a great deal of clarity in his book, is the ideas of integrity and honesty. And this is what he said in the book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Honesty is telling the truth. In other words, conforming our words to reality. Integrity is conforming reality to our words. In other words, keeping promises and fulfilling expectations. This requires an integrated character, a oneness, primarily with self, but also with life. So he draws a big distinction here, right? He says that honesty is telling the truth. In other words, making sure that our words conform with reality, that what we say reflects reality. Integrity, on the other hand, is is conforming our reality to our words. In other words, manipulating the world around us so that it will reflect what our words say. And that involves keeping promises and fulfilling expectations, which is, of course, a major theme, both honesty and integrity, of this night of Yom Kippur and the Kol Nidre service. So many of you know that the Kol Nidre service is not really a service, it's really a court proceeding. We have 3 people who hold Torah scrolls, or this year will simply open the Ark, and those 3 people serve as a Beit Din, a Jewish law court that is able to conduct legal business. And what we are doing is conducting the legal business of a formula that releases us from vows. Now, if we think about this, releasing ourselves from vows, in other words, not having to keep the words that we promise or not conforming reality to our words, seems like the opposite of what we should be doing on Yom Kippur, the opposite of what we should be doing the rest of the year, and certainly seems like the opposite of honesty and integrity. The Kol Nidre service has 2 different formulas. One of them is an after-the-fact formula. In other words, it is saying to God, please forgive us for all the vows and obligations that we made during the past year that we were not able to keep. This seems to fit with the idea of the holiday of Yom Kippur because, of course, on the holiday of Yom Kippur, we ask God for forgiveness, and we also seek forgiveness from our fellow human beings. So asking for forgiveness for something that we've already done wrong seems to fit with the theme of Yom Kippur for sure. The question is, the formula that we do, and many other synagogues do, is not a after-the-fact formula, but rather a preemptive formula in which we say, God, for any vows or promises or oaths that we may make during the coming year, if we are unable to keep them, please forgive us in advance for those things. Now, this on the one hand sounds much more logical. It's a preemptive strike. It is something that allows us to sort of hedge our bets. But in a way, it seems a little, I don't know, it doesn't seem in the spirit of Yom Kippur, especially the spirit of this season of the year when we're thinking about the obligations that we want to make to God, the obligations we want to make to our community, to those around us, even the obligations we want to make to ourselves. We want to take them seriously, and it seems sort of strange that even before the holiday is fully starting, we're already saying, well, I'm maybe not going to be able to do it, so God forgive me. It sort of seems to take a little bit of the seriousness of it away. It seems more like a loophole. But the rabbis saw both formulas in a very different way. They saw both formulas as a reminder on the most holy eve of the year about the importance of keeping our word. And in fact, a lot has been written by the rabbis about how we should really not even take vows in the first place. We should find other ways to make obligations or promises, but we shouldn't be taking vows and oaths because it is just that serious, and that's why we have to talk about it on Erev Yom Kippur. One of the things that the rabbis did want us to focus on as a result of the Kol Nidre surface was that we should, in the first place, be honest. We should make sure that the words that come out of our mouths do, in fact, reflect reality. Also, we should have integrity. And that means that we should, whatever we say, we should reflect that in our actions. So this honesty and integrity, these two things are coming together and are both necessary. And that's something that Stephen Covey talks about, but you know who talked about it long before then? The rabbis of our tradition. The underlying message of all of this was the importance of words and the importance of our actions. And we know from our tradition that we are less concerned in Judaism about what it is that we're thinking and more concerned about what our actions are. And to a lesser degree, but I would say just as important in many aspects, the words that we say. And therefore, we want those things to match up. Of course, honesty and integrity are bedrocks of our society. Without them, it would be impossible to have a society that functions in a proper fashion. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in a situation in our nation and our society in which in many ways the importance of honesty and integrity has been eroded. We even have a term now which is unbelievable to me of alternate facts. You know, they used to say you're entitled to your own opinion but not your own facts, but I guess now you're entitled to your own facts as well. And it seems that in many ways truth has become relative in our society. Now, this is truth a rather complicated matter because Judaism also sees truth as not being so clear-cut. There are things that I might consider to be a truth that somebody else doesn't consider to be a truth. There can be more than one truth. And as our rabbi said, those and those are the words of the ever-living God. In other words, you can have things that seem to conflict with each other that are, in fact, also the truth. For instance, my wife likes chocolate peanut butter ice cream. For her, the truth of the best ice cream in the world is chocolate peanut butter is a truth. For me, butter pecan is the best ice cream in the world. That's my truth. How can they both be true? Well, because we approach them from different ways, and they're both words of the ever-living God. And certainly, if we're talking about Mitchell's ice cream, it does come very close to divinity at times. But there is a very well-known example in our tradition that I've spoken about from the Bima before, about when we have values that conflict with each other. The well-known example of the not-so-beautiful bride. What do you do? There's a mitzvah that says that you're supposed to tell a bride that she's beautiful. And the rabbis ask the question, well, what do you do if she's not really that beautiful? Because you're supposed to tell the truth, but you're also supposed to gladden a bride. And one of the ways that you gladden a bride is by telling her that she's beautiful. And this question came before Hillel and Shammai. Shammai said, well, you should find something else to say. It's a nice dress, what a beautiful evening, what a great day for a wedding, but you shouldn't come out and tell a lie. Hillel, on the other hand, and his view is the ones accepted, said that in a case like this, mipnei shalom bait, in order to create peace, in order to gladden the bride, you should do the thing that brings peace and brings love. And so we do follow his example, which means that we, at times, don't tell the truth. But most of the time, we're required to tell the truth. There's very few examples where that exception is made. Unfortunately, the society that we live in today, untruth has become pretty rampant, and it's in all sectors of society, from the highest level of society to the lowest level of society. And we see this playing out in the Supreme Court controversy right now, where there were people 4 years ago who said one thing, and even, Lindsey Graham said, mark my word, 4 years from now, if this comes up, you can hold these to my words. And yes, alternate facts, I guess he's not sticking by those words. And it's very problematic when the leaders in our country don't set an example. We used to have Honest Abe, right? I cannot tell a lie. Ech naflu giborim. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. But we see how easy it is to subdue honesty and integrity. We see how easy it is to slide into truths that aren't full truths and half-truths and a tangled web that we weave. And we see now what the repercussions are. We see when truth doesn't seem to matter, what kind of situation it creates. As I said earlier, we need truth and honesty and integrity in order for a society. It's the bedrock of a society. And we see how that's been eroded and what that's done to our society. And no matter how many times a lie is told, I would submit that truth still matters, that we have to be as truthful as we can. And I think this brings us to the challenge of Kol Nidre. In large part, of course, Kol Nidre is a reminder to us about setting priorities. We have to be honest. We have to be honest about what we can accomplish, what we can deliver, and what we can promise to others. And once we've done that, once we've sort of made those vows about what we think we want to accomplish during the coming year, we have to have the integrity to deliver it. We can't control how others are going to approach this. I can't make someone else tell the truth. All I can do is speak for myself, speak the truth for myself, and try to have that truth live out through my actions. And that is, I think, the most that each of us can do, is really to take a look at ourselves and say, what can I do to have honesty, integrity be a part of my character? Ultimately, Stephen Covey suggests in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that having honesty and integrity in our lives is part of what will make us successful. It's not about the loophole of the Kol Nidre service. That's not what we should be focusing on. What we should really focus on this evening of Yom Kippur is the honesty and integrity that will take for us to not just be successful people, but for us to have a successful year which is filled with peace and truth and justice, good health and love. Good Yontif and Gemar Chatima Tova.